Welcome to the Say Yes Movement podcast with Heather and John. Hey Heather, how's it going?
It's going good, John. I'm so excited to be here. We're down to the countdown for our mastering the art of communication, and I'll tell you, this weekend, every sign has been coming my way about communication and how important it is, and people's fears. And it's just I love when we do these events because our brains just get filled with such good energy and good information. And so I just wanted to put that out there because I know we're starting with Thursday, but I'm excited about Thursday. I'm excited about sharing this topic. So how was your weekend?
Yeah, yeah. Weekend was good. Weekend was good. It was actually because I'm in the final stretch of my training. Right, I've got 5 weeks left until May 28th. Can't believe how quickly that's come. Um, yeah, so I did a 2.5 hour training yesterday, and I'm like, oh, that's just 2.5 hours. I just need another six to go, and then I'll be fine, right? So,
I love that,
but it's
John. I love that it's game day now. Game day is right around the corner for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the one thing that we talk about that I've been really leveraging has been visualizing, right? What's it going to feel like when I'm out of the water? What's it going to feel like once I'm done the bike portion and then going into the run? And actually, maybe I got to take out the mental pictures that the run is going to be a little bit more difficult than I think it's going to be. I'm just going to keep it simple. And, the
Mm.
one thing I've also been thinking about is what do I say to myself in that time? Because I've been training with music, I've been training with audio, and I've been training with a lot of different things. I actually jumped into a spin class yesterday. It's part of my training. Figure out if I'm going to go do 65, 70 kilometers, might as well use part of a spin class to put on some of that mileage. And, you know, what do you do in your mind, right? Like, what are you saying to yourself? And I know we talked about this quite a bit, but I'm thinking like, what am I going to say to myself for like 6 or 7 hours during this event? Right? Like, what's the language I'm going to use? How am I going to be communicating to me? Right? Like, so this is what I've been practicing and really getting into the habit of doing as well as I'm doing through this exercise and through this training is what do I want to say to myself? And a lot of
Ooh.
what happens to a lot of people, or actually, I'll just talk about myself. But the one thing that I find when I talk negatively to myself, my energy dips. Like I just,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I feel it physically. But when I'm like positive, you know what? You got this. You're almost there. This is simple and easy. When I say that type of language to myself, my energy starts to boost. It's like, okay, the finish line is just down there. Like you're going to get there. Don't worry. You've got this. You've put in the work. You've done the training. And it's really, how I'm communicating to me. And
Mm-hmm.
when I think about communication, a lot of, and we're going to talk about this on Thursday as well, is what are you saying to yourself before you walk into the room? What's the language that you're using with you? How are you going to show up? And is it going to be in a way that's going to empower you? And I know earlier on in my speaking career, I would say, oh my gosh, like I think you talked about this too. I hope I don't mess up. I hope I remember everything. I hope I don't, screw this up and everybody hates me at the end of it. But we already know none of that's true,
Mm-hmm.
right? Based on our experience and what we've gone through. So really, what are we talking? Like, what are we saying to us? Like, what are we saying to ourselves as we go through this process? I think it's
John,
it's it's, it's key. Yeah.
it's absolutely key. In fact, write those things down so that you're not trying to find them in your head. You can actually visualize in your mind's eye that piece of paper with all of those amazing things that are the truths that you need to
Mm-hmm.
hear as you're getting to that race. And, you know, it's not by accident that this stuff is coming up. One of my favorite stories is actually helping someone run a marathon the first time. And I'm obviously not a running coach, but I'm a mindset coach. And what I understand, and actually, she just reached out the other day. So, Davina, if you're listening, I still tell your story. And she messaged me to say that moment in her life was so pivotal for her to achieve the next set of goals. And that's the amazing part is when you do something for the first time, then what else can you do for the first time? But what she was worried about in this first marathon that she was doing was not finishing, not running out of steam, not being able to listen to her music. And she had all these negative thoughts about all these fears of what could happen. And she'd never actually visualized crossing the finish line. like that wasn't even part of her visualization at all. She visualized all the bad things that could happen, injury and falling and, not making it to the end. So we did some visualization techniques around passing and going over that finish line, hearing, who's around her cheering it on. How does she feel? Where in her body does she feel that? And we did that because her brain won't know the difference, because our brains visualize already in pictures. And, whether it's reality or whether it's something that we're just visualizing, it's then looking for ways to make that happen. So the fact that you're saying those words in your head already means that your brain is going to say, oh, when he says these things, it means go. When he says this to me, it means it's true. When you say, we can make it, the finish line is there, you've got this, that's that mind over matter. Because, on game day, John, it's no longer going to be about whether your body can or cannot do it, because your body will do it. It's going to be about, can your mind get you there? The mindset is actually the race you'll be running on that day, not your body. Your body's going to take it to the end no matter what, but will your mind?
Yeah, no, and as you were saying that, what I was visualizing is being on stage, right? Or being in front of a room of people, using the same technique to see yourself in front of people and just really delivering a really powerful message. And then getting to the end of it, listening to the applause of the crowd. It's like, okay, we're listening to I know it doesn't happen in a corporate environment, but I think we should applaud more when people do a really good job when they're doing their presentation. It's part of the reason why I love Toastmasters. And this is why I continue to be a part of Toastmasters, because you get cheered on. You get claps. It doesn't matter if you deliver the worst presentation, the best presentation, you actually clap. And actually, what I learned is that there's little sensories, there's little pressure points in your hands that actually release endorphins into your body when you clap. It's part of the reason when we go to concerts, we feel really excited, really pumped up, because we're always constantly clapping. So why don't we, how great would it be if we were actually in a team meeting, somebody delivered something astonishing, and we've seen that, right? Like people deliver like just amazing presentation, and then we just clap for them. Like I've done that in a few meetings. People looked at me funny, but that was okay because it's such a great experience to be able to go through that, right? So visualization doesn't just work for crossing finish lines. It also works when you're delivering a presentation, delivering a talk, maybe it's you're in a town hall session and you're delivering a message to the team. You can visualize all of that in advance.
And
when you do that, it creates a certain energy inside of you. You're right. Your body starts to respond in that way because your mind doesn't know the difference on whether or not it's true. So imagine, think about what your next presentation is going to look like and visualize the success in advance.
Yes, for sure. I know it sounds kind of crazy to like clap at work if that's not the norm, or stand up and cheer. But I've actually done that while people prep. So while they're prepping for their presentation, when they're in their most vulnerable stage, they're still tripping over their words, the nervous energy is still there. Then that's when I cheer for them, so that when they're on game day, they actually can hear my voice and they can hear my support, especially if I'm going to be in the audience that day, listening to them, which, a lot of with my clients, if we're practicing a moment for them, I'd love to be there whenever I can, especially if it's a public forum. So, find the places that you can infuse that celebration, infuse those good thoughts, and practice with yourself. What are you going to say to yourself the morning of, the hour before that session, and write that down so that you're not focused on all of those gremlins or those ants, those automatic negative thoughts that will come into your head, but you're actually filling it with something really, really positive that's going to grow and propel you forward in success. So visualization is so much more than just seeing a picture. It's hearing the words, it's feeling in your body, and seeing the picture all at once. And that's the magic that we can do at any time. We can actually, if we need a little bit more joy in our life, we can just close our eyes and visualize a moment in time when we had that much joy in our lives, and feel it in our body and see it in our minds and hear it and feel it all at the same time. And that's for anything that you need right now. You need more joy. You need more happiness. You need more play. You need more, more concentration, they just find it in your mind's eye where you've already done this. Because that's the really cool thing is, even if we haven't done something for the first yet, we can do it in our brain first. We can do it in our own imagination, and then just make it happen. May 28th is your day, John. You're going to be an Iron Man.
Yes.
Well, you are an Iron Man. Actually, I got to take that back. You are an Iron Man on May 28th. It becomes official.
Yes. Yeah. And Isabel's just dropping in a comment as well, saying practice is such a critical step that is often skipped. Yes, 100%. Visualizing is just a part of the process, right? You can't just visualize the whole thing, show up, and imagine, you're gonna rock it and kill it. You got to practice as well. And actually, that's one of the things that we're going to be covering this coming Thursday in our masterclass. Practice is an incredible, it's a key component to really making sure that you get the message done the right way. And there's ways of practicing where you can see it yourself. Because I think a lot of times when we deliver our presentations, we don't hear ourselves. And I think I shared this with you. One of the things I used to do earlier on when I was doing speeches is I would record my speeches on my phone. And what I would do is on my way into work when I was driving, because we would commute, I would listen to the speech. And I would listen to it over, like it would be I would have a 45-minute commute. So I would listen to it over the 45 minutes, even though it was a 7-minute speech. And just, listen to the wording that I was using, listening to, where I was infusing those pauses. Did they make sense? Was the language that I was using making sense? And, even yesterday, I was putting part of a speaker reel together and I was listening to some of my message and I'm like, oh, okay, that was good. When you listen to something, it's like, oh man, I really said that. That's fantastic. Yep. I think we've all been there, right? We listen to a speech, it's like, where did that come from? Is that even me? Like, that's so good. But then there's other moments where it's like, oh, that could have been done a little bit differently. Or that transition, from one point to another could have been done slightly differently. So recording, we're giving you some tips that we're going to be sharing on Thursday, but record your message and listen to it, right? If you can. And and what I love about these things today is you can actually video record yourself.
Yeah.
Because we know, saying the words is one thing, but actually watching how you use your body to, get that message across is a whole other thing. And you and I, we have both seen this, right? Where we've listened to keynote speakers or we've listened to town hall presenters, and what they're saying doesn't match what's represented in their body. Mm-hmm. And we know instinctivally that it just doesn't feel right. Like it's not congruent, right? With the language and the body language isn't congruent, and you feel like they're hiding something. Mm-hmm. And then the whole message just gets lost. So that's not fair to them. Like there could be, and maybe that just involves, just like Isabella said, just a little bit more practice to make sure that you get that congruency happening between your language and your body before you get up on stage. And seeing it actually tells you, because sometimes I used to have this, I don't know about you, but I got feedback one time that I used to do this thing with my face when I would say certain words in my speeches. And so I ended up recording my speech and I saw it. I'm like, oh, I really do that. That's horrible. I gotta stop doing that.
When I was going to university, I used to record my textbooks on cassette tape because that's the age that I am. And then I played in the car because I had an hour drive into school. And it was funny because sometimes I would trip up or say words wrong, or, I was in biochemistry, so I needed to spell out some of the words because I couldn't even say them. But it all made visuals in my brain as I was driving. So, way from a young age, I was practicing my craft and practicing what I needed to learn. And now I do that recording, and just like you, John, I have those aha moments where I'm like, oh, wow, like I need to write that down. That's a headline. And then other moments where I'm like, I thought I was super crystal clear and I have no idea what I was trying to say there. It just didn't come out properly. And, one of the reasons why we decided to do our LinkedIn live show and podcast was to add more days to our practice portfolio. This is us practicing getting our messages crystal clear. And oftentimes we'll try on new ideas for our webinars or for our clients on the podcast and see how it resonates. So we love your feedback. We love hearing from all of you how you're making this work and happen for you in your business and your life, because this is our place that we're also putting in the time, putting in the work to practice. And I think people get when I've shared how much I've practiced for certain events, people are shocked. They think it just comes naturally, that it's just going to flow. I've spent 10 minutes thinking about it, and then boom, there's these ideas. And in fact, having a shorter, more impactful presentation is much harder than a long drawn out one with lots of time to tell lots of stories. But the funneling down of information so that you're crystal clear is a lot harder than people think. In fact, John, me and you still have trouble getting all of our thoughts in the 20 minutes we do this 3 times a week. So the practice is a huge component. But like John said, we're going to share some pretty cool truth bombs around communication that will help you get out of your own head and be impactful for a bigger audience in presentations and speaking up at work and anything that might be coming up, because a fear of public speaking is definitely something that's real for everyone.
Yeah. Well, people say they would rather die than deliver a speech, right? Like, I just think that's a little crazy that people would want to do. People would rather die than deliver a presentation in the speech. But the truth is, you're right. We are going to try. We are going to drop some truth bombs, and yeah, no, I'm super excited. I'm so so the thing is, we have been working on this content for a while, so it's not like something that's just shown up for us. Something that we've been putting a lot of time and effort into, and I'm super excited to bring it to everybody to be able to share it, because I know that right now, and we've both seen this, that people are at a point where they've forgotten what it's like to be in front of people, and they're nervous. It's like they're like brand new speakers again. It's like, how do I get back in front of an audience? How do we get back in front of my peers? How do we get back in front of an executive team and deliver a message that's really going to resonate with them? And that's what's been showing up. And this is part of the reason why this particular topic is one that we're going to be bringing out this week, to address some of those concerns that a lot of people are having in terms of their communication. And, as more people go back into the office, and this is now becoming a requirement for a lot of organizations, how do you feel comfortable being in a room full of people again? Because we've been hiding behind these screens, right? We've been hiding behind the cameras. And the truth is, what we're going to be showing you, what works in person also works on video. The only difference is you don't have people's faces and energy in front of you. But it's such an amazing thing, because I know, like, I just booked a speaking engagement for the weekend, and they want me in person. I'm like,
yay,
well, okay,
exciting.
that's different. Yeah, it's super exciting to be back in front of a room of people.
It's totally
And just to
different
be
in
able
front
to,
of a room, because my dog doesn't give me any reaction when I do the speeches in front of her. She listens intently, but that's about it. But in person, you need to practice, like you said, eye contact, body language, because only 18, we're always afraid, will I forget my words? That's one of the biggest fears people have.
yeah.
But actually, only 18% of what you're communicating comes from the words you say. The rest comes from your body language and your way of addressing the audience and making the audience feel that this story is also about them. So again, we got to stop, because we're getting right into Thursday.
Yeah, I know, we're like giving away everything before people even show up on Thursday.
I love it. But we are going to deep dive. So I think the call to action today, John, is, what is it that you need to practice in your mind's eye? Visualize something that's happening the next week or 2 weeks that's going to happen. Put the practice in. Talk to one of your peers at work, let them know, hey, I want to be really, really good at this. I want to make sure that I'm crystal clear in my communication. Could I practice with you? We always ask each other to practice with each other. So, and people love it when you say, could you be my coach? Could you hear and give me some feedback on what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be a presentation. It can be, hey, I'm going to be talking in this meeting tomorrow, and I want to make sure that I'm crystal clear on what I'm going to say. And that would be my call to action, I think, that we give everyone. It's a great one to start the Monday with.
Yeah. All right. I just want a quick shout out to Felicia. Thank you. Yes. And thank you. We're looking forward to having you on Thursday as well. No, it's going to be great. So what I'm also going to invite, so we do have a mission of impacting 1 million people this year. So if there are people on your team or people around you, it would be we would be incredibly grateful if you could just spread that message with people. We've got a great registration list already, but our mission is to continue to grow that, to really share that with the world, to get more people to say yes to the things that they're afraid of, to say yes to all the scary stuff. So if you could extend that message and share it with others, the link is on. I'll put the link back in the comments today at the end of this podcast. But we would love if you could just share that with everybody. All right, so that concludes today's episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all an amazing Monday. Talk to you all soon. Take care.